Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Scousers pre-match show. Champions League weekday matchup. It's hard to find contributors and gather around. People have work and crazy things like that. But us three are here. I'm your host, Timushin, as always, with Sir Z and Salim over here. Welcome along, gentlemen. The lineup is out. We talked about it this morning. I don't think we expected this. Sir Z, we'll start with you. It's pretty much the starting 11 with only Robertson seemingly getting a rest, and maybe if you count Diaz, he's getting a rest. Is that shocking to you, knowing we play Arsenal this weekend?
Jones as well.
I think you're putting Jones as a regular starter now. See, I kind of figured he was the rotation. So, yeah, you do you. But
I'm not surprised Robertson was dropped. I'm surprised Diaz isn't playing. That was a surprise. So maybe says Diaz will play on Saturday or Sunday. But no, it's still a strong lineup. I would have given Konate a rest, but he's showing that he's still able to perform like week in, week out. But I think that's the only other player we're given a rest just because of historically his injuries and so forth.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, because that's one of the concerns. I kind of figured probably not going to see Kwanzaa until the Brighton game or something like that, probably at this rate. If we didn't see him today, unless he does come in. And that's the thing, I guess, Salim. It could be a situation where maybe we have almost like pre-scheduled substitutions as opposed like happening at this minute, regardless of what the scoreline is.
Could be. As far as the lineup goes, it looks very similar to Sunday. And I'm looking at the substitutes, and it's very interesting. Tyler Morton, Trainioni, Harvey Davies. I don't know who that is. But Luis Diaz is there, Kwanzaa, Jones. So it's interesting that even the bench is a little bit young with some of the younger guys. This game isn't like a must-have for Liverpool, but it is a must-have for Leipzig. So I fully anticipate, this to be a really close game, and I think Luis Diaz and Curtis Jones will make an appearance at some point.
That's the thing, right? I feel like we will get. I think the only reason you're seeing Davies is because Alisson is out, so Kelleher is not there. So all the goalkeepers take a step to the left, and then Harvey suddenly shows up in the match day squad, kind of an ordeal, I think. And
so he's a keeper. Okay, good to know.
Hopefully, knock on wood, we will not get to see him. Nothing wrong will happen. But yeah, the Diaz thing is definitely interesting, like you were saying, Sergi, because based on, honestly, we look at the weekend game and we try to project what will happen, maybe the weekday, like the midweek game and then the weekend and stuff. Seeing him coming off the bench on the weekend, I assumed this would be his game to start. Do you think Gakpo is out there for a specific reason, or it's just more about saving Diaz's legs for the weekend?
I'm thinking saving Diaz's legs for the weekend is again, traveling again, getting on a plane again after a long flight from South America, then give him 60 minutes. I think it's a little bit too much. That's what I'm thinking. Or maybe he's going to surprise us all and play Gakpo on Sunday and just have him on a run until he loses the spot. So I know it's hard to tell what Slot does. It's so hard to predict. But whatever he's doing, it's working. It's been good. It's working out for us. But yeah, I'm really surprised Diaz didn't start today.
Yeah, can't argue with the results. And I guess, the sample sizing is small, Salim. So we have not gotten a clearer understanding of what the substitutions patterns and the rotation patterns would be. And obviously there's, science behind it as well in terms of what these guys can give for minutes. We expected Nunez to be out there mainly for Jota. But what is your take on the Gakpo over Diaz selection?
What a good problem to have. Gakpo has been playing very well. Diaz has been playing very well. Sometimes I wonder, as managers, is it easier to have one clear-cut number one, which I think, I don't think Diaz is clear-cut, but I think Diaz is the first choice there normally. But I wonder if they sometimes wish they had a big distinction between the two, so it's easier for them to make the decision, or if having two people, like, having a good problem is easier. But I think I don't know why Diaz isn't starting, but I'm assuming he's going to get 30 minutes. Maybe Serzi's right, coming in from South America and then going to Germany. I don't know how long the flight is. I can't imagine it being very long. Maybe 2.5 hours. I would assume.
3 hours.
If that, right? Yeah, it wouldn't be that.
It's about like
bad.
an hour and a half, I would assume, to Germany, because I know like I'm doing like Istanbul to London, Istanbul to Germany, subtracting the difference. So I'm assuming it's like an hour and a half or something like that. But.
Yeah, it can't be that far. So it's probably give Cody Gakpo some a run of games, and then probably bring in Diaz 30 minutes and get his legs ready for Sunday, the big one against Arsenal.
And that's the thing. How much of this? I mean, here's the thing: when we decide the lineup, we as fans, especially, like, we see this kind of like what Salim was saying. This is not a must win, or it won't be devastating if it was a draw or something like that. I think as fans, we're kind of looking towards the weekend ourselves. Is this more about Slot saying, screw the weekend, this is the game, we go game at a time, and it's a better message maybe for the squad saying we take care of business one at a time, as opposed to almost like if you rotate and put 4 or 5 guys out there, you're telling the rest of the guys who stayed, well, this is kind of a game. The big thing is the weekend kind of a deal.
Personally, I think it's a must win. I think if we
Everything is a must win for you, Serzi.
Oh yeah,
the coin toss is a must win for.
But if we can like nip this in the bud, like, by December we can be in the top 3 or top 2, and that way we can relax a bit in January, February, notoriously where injuries kind of happen. So I'd rather get this done and dusted, and then we can start taking January, February, where when shit really hits the fan. So yeah, I'd say win every game as much as you can. Take each game as it comes, and we just have to worry about the next game. Because winning creates momentum, and you lose a game, and luckily we've lost one game and we bounced back. But the best habit you can have is winning, and so we just have to win each game, and just get this. I'm not sure when the Champions League, this format is done before we move to the next stage. But if we can get this done and dusted as quickly as possible, I think it's great.
I mean, I guess there is something to be said. I mean, I agree. There is something to be said about momentum, Salim, and like kind of like getting in the habit of winning, if you will, and kind of like riding that momentum, as opposed to maybe rotating too much. I mean, Ryan was saying that he's surprised that there isn't more rotation. I am actually as well. I think when we were talking about in the morning, kind of like trying to speculate the lineup, we all kind of thought 3 to 4 names would be like thrown in there, and it really seems like just one, really, with like Robertson being rested, which makes sense. Is that what we're after over here in terms of, like, especially with a newer system, everybody playing together more, winning together more, and then kind of carrying that to the next game, even if the legs are a bit more tired?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that this is a throwaway game for Liverpool. What I'm saying is it could be a trap game. That's all. And just with the opponent, like, desperate for points, they've lost both of their 2 first Champions League games. So continuity is always a good thing. I think overall we have a good idea of the midfield, what he wants to do, who he wants there. I mean, Jones had a fantastic game on Sunday, so it's nice to see him playing well. But I can see continuity for sure, it being important and not having as many players. But it's the bench that kind of worries me a little bit, because if something goes sideways, there's not really all that much there other than the ones that I mentioned prior.
Yeah, and that's why I think, like what Ryan was saying in the comments, that there is like an Endo to come in. I'm thinking like 55, 60, somewhere around there, and kind of like, give us some more like fresh legs, close out the game. Hopefully we would have the lead by then. There's Gordo jumping in. We were speculating more this morning. I was just saying, like, in terms of changes, None of that has happened aside from Costas. We were trying to shove Gomez in there and doing all kinds of things this morning. But Salim was just talking about the fact that this is a more of a must-win for Leipzig. Having said that, do you expect a similar game to the Chelsea game, maybe, where we're like, you guys go ahead and attack and have the possession, we'll just counter?
Yeah, and this one strikes me as a game we'd feel more comfortable doing that. I think the Chelsea game was more of a necessity, right? It was more, it's a chess match. Chelsea has a young team that's like dying to get forward and score a lot of goals. We've seen it in several games where they're just trying to put as many in the back of the net as possible. So you just trap them in. You let them come at you and let them play their game and be frantic and unorganized, and then we'll hit you on the counter. Whereas this game, we're going to do that just because we're probably saving legs because of the weekend, and then also the Arsenal game at this weekend. And I think it works a little better because I don't feel as like Leipzig is as dangerous as Chelsea is on the attack.
I know it's not good on your nerves, Sir Z, but do you expect the same where we kind of give up the possession and like try to counter, just defend? And it's probably better for the legs as well in the long run. But is that what you're expecting, or seeing the starting 11, do we go out for it and try to put this game away?
I think we'll try and put the game away. I was surprised the way we played against Chelsea, how we started, and if that was by design, it was great. I didn't think we would give up as much possession as we did, knowing the fact that all the pre-season talk was Slot lost possession. So I don't see it going that way with Leipzig, because I don't think they have as much danger as what Chelsea had, like player-wise. So I think we'll control this game from start to finish.
Yeah, okay. I'm more leaning towards, especially in the beginning, kind of like letting them do their thing and then balance the game overall. But you might have a point, and I guess one thing that we've seen though, Salim, from Slot is it's kind of like different horses for different courses kind of thing. The horses might be the same, but they run differently. We play in a different formation, or we take the game, like the control and how we play differently. How do you expect this to unfold? Do we just sit back, or do we go at them?
I think you might be onto something, with the first 10, 15 minutes, just kind of let the game settle in, and see where it goes from there. But, Serzi's got a really good point. I mean, possession was the game that, or was what we were told that Slot has. And the fact that, against Chelsea at home, we didn't do that. It's just kind of interesting. It just kind of throws us for a loop, right? We weren't expecting that. It did work out, so that's great. As far as this game goes, I fully anticipate that Leipzig's going to be on the front foot. Again, they're desperate for points. That's the thing. So maybe a sit-back approach might be the way to just kind of let them come forward, kind of like Gordo said, as far as Chelsea being, young and wanting to score goals. And this is more out of a necessity. So I think that sitting back probably is the way to go. But the first 15, 20 minutes will definitely be, let's just kind of make sure everything's shored up in the back, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
I mean, it's a good way to frustrate an opponent, Gordo, in some ways, where they need to score. And if you can hang on to the ball and further frustrate them, you can kind of frustrate a team to the point where they lose focus, right? Like they're like, we got to score. And you can, and if you fall asleep on Gakpo and Mo or Nunez and stuff like that, that's when we can really hit you. So do you vote for possession, or do you vote for more of a Chelsea late game if it was up to you?
I'd probably, it seemed like, and we talked about it earlier today, but it seemed like we were comfortable not having the ball and letting them dictate the pace of play and then just hitting them on the counter. And because of that, and because it's Leipzig need the win, they need the points in the Champions League, I would let them do that. And then, as you said, if how many times did we get into positions where it's like Nottingham Forest is a perfect example. We had all the possession, we just could not break them down. And it seemed like the longer it went on, not only the more confident Nottingham Forest got with the points, but the more frustrated and we were making bad passes forward and we weren't going through the lines. And it becomes less about just knocking the ball around and more about like we have to score. Sometimes it gets frantic, even though it's the same game. You still have the same amount of minutes. As the clock ticks down, you start not doing the easy stuff and trying to force passes through the lines. And so I think we've got the team that could do it. I would feel more comfortable if we had the ball, obviously, away from home in the Champions League. It'd be a much easier game to watch. But it seems like Slot is very comfortable with both possession and off possession.
I actually kind of like that because you don't, and I think makes the opponent think twice because they don't know what's coming either, as opposed to you doing the same thing over and over again. And I understand that's a way of thinking where if we do what we want to do properly, nobody can beat us kind of a thing. But at the same time, I kind of like the approach of shuffling depends on like what we're going to face and adjusting it accordingly. So obviously, as we head over to the game, let's do some early predictions over here. But before we get to the score predictions, Salim, we'll start with you. Give me like one player that you will have your eye on today in terms of like performance.
Gakpo, for sure. Yeah, he's the fact that he's started 2 games in a row. We understand the one on Sunday. We've talked about it, but this one, if he performs really well, does this, jeopardize Diaz a little bit? And does Diaz have to fight it for a spot back? So Gakpo for me is one, and obviously Darwin. I mean, come on, man. Like, we got to see something, like these flashes are great, but like, let's get on a little consistent run here. We need you. We need him. We need him, with Jota being out. I don't know how long he's out for, but like we need him. And, as a super sub or whatever, but he needs to start like today because on the weekend he was there, but he wasn't there,
Really? I thought he had a really good game. You didn't like his performance in Chelsea?
He was okay. I mean, he was just like no shots, like nothing in the box. Not like that's all. Like we know his work rate's great, but as far as like put the ball in the net, dude, like that's what we need from you.
Okay. I thought, especially hold up play and stuff, he did more than normal. And I do agree with the Nunez shot though, because I feel like, especially after that, I was going to say after that performance, because I thought it was good, but Salim didn't like it. But I figured like this is an important game for us to build on that.
Yeah. From a striker standpoint, your job is to get in there and score. Like we all know the work rate's great. That's all that. But I'm sick of just saying that. I'm sick of it. I want you to put the ball in the net.
I know somebody else who's sick of saying that. Gordo, what are you going to do?
Yeah, as Nunez, biggest fan over here on the channel. I did think he had a better game. But again, like I said, I think it was one of the shorts from your guys' Monday podcast where, like Matush was talking about, you get Jota who basically can disappear for an entire game and pop up with a goal. But like Nunez works the entire time that he's on. And my point is, like, you're on the field to score goals. Like we talk about the Ronaldo being one of the best strikers in the world, right? He almost never played, but he'd score, and everyone's like, he's one of the greatest strikers in the world because he'd do that. He would disappear for an entire game, come up and score the game-winning goal. And if you're looking at impact, I think, you can't win a game 0-0 if everyone's hustling. You don't get to stand, you don't get to shake the king's hand at Wembley for the FA Cup for a 0-0 draw, right? You've got to score goals, and so work rate is great, but if you're a striker, especially in that pin position at the top, you've got to be scoring. So I think this is pivotal because I think even on this channel, everyone that has been very pro Nunez has said, if he's not producing by January, maybe we do look to push it out. And hey, we're in the 20s of October and I haven't seen anything. So,
man, you guys are harsh. I mean, I know it's not going to get any better when I go to Sir Z, but I actually thought he did really. I mean, I kind of like not only the work rate, like the interplay, like his hold up, his passing. I mean, he had a couple of like really, really nice passes that I was like, damn, that's Nunez. If he could do this on a regular basis, kind of thing. And I understand what you guys are saying, but that's what the conversation was on Monday a little bit too. Like, you can do like there's a lot of things Jota does even when he doesn't score that enables others to score. I mean, people would give shit to Bobby all the time for his I'm not saying Jota or Nunez is any Bobby. Nobody is. He was a unicorn. But in terms of like doing things that enables others to thrive, might not show up on the stat sheets, but a run you make to clear space and things like that. I feel like Jota does a lot of that as well that doesn't get noticed. But I thought Nunez was good. Sergi, Sergi, what do you have? Who are you watching?
I like Nunez. I'm completely opposite. And like when you guys are saying he's not scoring and he's a striker, but Bobby Firmino, like, and yeah, I mean, his goal scoring was papered over the fact that we had Mane and Salah scoring, and so papered over the fact that Bobby wasn't scoring. But Nunez, he came on, like the tackles are in there, running back, like, if you're not scoring, do something. Did. It's like Jota, like, all right, if you're not doing something, all right, at least he's scoring. Nunez is the opposite. Like, he's not scoring, but he's working for the team. He stopped a hell of a lot of blocks, coming back, defending. He has his rash moments where he got booked for stupidity, but no, I like Nunez. I feel bad for him with the abuse that he gets. Some of it's warranted, some of it's not. But I'm glad. I'd rather he be on that team than play against him.
Yeah, as long as he says onside, I understand. I know what Salim is saying too, though. Like, I don't want to just be like, oh, he runs. I'll go out there and run as much as possible too, but there's a reason I'm not out there. So it's a matter of, like, producing. I felt he was in the game as well against Chelsea, and I'm hoping this is a good building block because, like, we don't know how long Jota is going to be out. This window, I assume for the most part until the international break, is going to be his. And he could really make a big statement. And I think he's really a kid that's is almost like too young for his age, too much of a kid for his age, and really needs that encouragement and results. Like, if he scores one, he's going to get that morale and stuff is what I'm thinking. So let's hope on that. But let's go with some final score predictions on our way out. We'll start the other way, clockwise. Gordo. You had it this morning. Has it changed when you see the lineup?
It did, because I was hoping for a little bit more rotation. The only one that we got right.
You had a 2-1, right?
Yeah, I'd say 2-0 with this lineup.
Okay, Sergi.
I'll go 3-0.
3 what?
3-0. 3-0.
3-0. Damn. Mm-hmm. If Sergi is an optimist, we're gonna be doing good, dude. Salim, what do you have?
I think this is a draw. I think this is a 1-1, 2-2 game.
You guys should switch seats then. That's what I kind of expected out of Sergi. Sparky's sticking with a 2-1 win. I'm going to stick with my 2-0. But I can see with this lineup being as strong, I can see not like a Timuchin special now 3-1, because I really think if we get the lead early, go up 2-0, 3-0, we'll make some subs that can cause some disconnects and maybe like a easy goal for them towards the end for Leipzig or something like that. But I just hope that we get to 3 points, because I think there's a point to be made about finishing this thing early and being able to rotate more down the road as you wish. Definitely. But we'll be here for the post-match, hopefully talking about a win. Give everybody a couple of minutes to run to the TVs, tablets, laptops, whatever, and then we'll see you guys in the post-match. Take care.